Yes, please. So I'm going to need about 45 minutes.
To your network issue or what?
Wait, I think I will rejoin it again. Can you see my video?
Your video, no. It's something like a shadow.
Oh, sorry,
I
something.
Sorry, my dear brother, please, we are live. So please unmute yourself. I'm calling you, inshallah, later on. Don't worry. My dear sister, please be with us. Already I introduced you. Miss Diana? Yes, excellent.
Can you see
Please
me?
go ahead. Yes.
Okay. I
Go
can
ahead.
start right now? Okay.
Yes, it's yours.
Okay. Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening to all people who are watching us right now. My name is IDYMICMH from Indonesia. First of all, I'd love to express my gratitude to IDYM, Rafi sir, and Mr. Noel, and all IDYM team for organizing this conference. And also thanks to our amazing host today, Dr. Iman, and all amazing speakers and participants. So today's topic is really important: bullying and physical violence in school. And I'm so happy to be here with all of you. But before I share my screen, I want all people who are watching us know why we need to address this topic. The importance of addressing bullying is the potential mental health effects on everyone involved, and it's important to hit the warning signs of bullying because children who are bullied may come home with unexplained injuries like lost books as well or damaged possession, and they may have trouble sleeping and lost interest in favorite activities that they had before. And if they are afraid to enter the cafeteria at lunchtime, for example, then they may come home hungry. So they might pretend illness to avoid school. So it affecting their academic performance. Some may even avoid social interaction, while some may begin to bully others. So victims might try to cope by harming themselves or running away. So bullies, on the other hand, may become more aggressive. Their friends may include other bullies, and bullying behavior may be a mechanism actually to cope with stress or abuse in their lives. They may even play the blame game, like resisting the responsibility for their actions. Because bullying is traumatic for everyone concerned, it is important to address it as early as possible. And parents, teachers can work together to ensure safety and prevent future bullying. So now I'm going to share my screen. Okay. Is it visible? Okay.
Yes, my dear sister. Yes.
Okay. As host already introduced me, I'm going to skip this. Okay, so what actually bullying? Bullying is a form of aggressive behavior characterized by the use of force or coercion to abuse, intimidate, or aggressively dominate others, and the behavior is often repeated and habitual. When someone maybe accidentally push another children, they just do it once. We cannot count it as bullying because they did it without the bad intention. But what we consider as bullying is a repeated or habitual bad actions toward others that they want to dominate with another students or another kids. So because there might be some confusion between conflict and bullying, now I'm going to highlight the difference. So conflict is a disagreement or argument in which both sides express their views. But bullying goal is to hurt, harm, or even humiliate another students or another kids. And conflict, it's equal power because it between those people that get involved, for example, in argument. But with bullying, the person bullying has more power, whether it's they are older, bigger, stronger, or even more popular. The difference is in the power that the bullying has. It's different with the conflict that children actually usually face. And with the conflict, it's generally stop and change behavior when they realize it is hurting someone. But when it comes to bullying, it's going to be continued behavior when they even know someone is hurting. They even make fun of it and they feel like they're enjoying when seeing someone else suffering. So there is a difference between conflict and bullying, and teachers have to understand what's actually the difference, because when the teacher can understand the early signs of bullying, then we can actually prevent the future bully. But when we don't even understand the difference between conflict and bullying, then we might actually just miss the opportunity to prevent the bullying at the class, for example. So this is the bullying side. So as you can see, bullying is unwanted aggressive behaviors and involving an observed or perceived power imbalance. Like I have said, usually people who are going to bully have much power than the other person. And it's actually widespread. In a nationwide survey, 1 in 5 middle schools, 1 in 7 high schools, and 1 in 12 grade schools said they dealt with bullying at least once a week. So we can imagine this is really happen nowadays, even every day in many schools in the worldwide, and more common among kids with IEPs. For example, middle and high schoolers with learning issues like dyslexia were 31% more likely to experience high level of victimization than kids in general education. So one thing that we have to understand that bullying is not something to brush aside. Bullying can have long-term effects on physical and mental health as well as academic achievement. Just because we tend to, we see, for example, two students were fighting a lot at the class, and we think that we already stopped them. It doesn't finish at the time because it may already left the bad memories on the victim. And also it actually gives the bully such a power deep down in themselves that one day, if there's some triggers in the future, even they can be that again. And bullying is not always a clear-cut problem. So many victims of bullying also bully others. They start to bullying others because, I felt it. For example, many junior high school students, they become bullying because when they were in elementary school, for example, they were a victim. So they tend to be more stronger, and then they try to cope with what actually happened in the past, and they try to validate themselves, and then they start to bullying another people as well. And kids with learning and attention issues may be more likely to respond aggressively to being bullied and to be identified as bullied. And bystanders can be helpful or can add to the victimization. This is what I'm going to explain in the next slide. So bullying actually affects on everyone. And bullying cannot be solved by zero tolerance or 3 strikes and you are out. Everything's already finished when the teachers see, or maybe they count that everything already finished. Because suspending or expelling kids who bully doesn't reduce bullying behavior. We have to do some prevention in the long maintenance, because it's not going to be done only an hour. For example, in 1 hour counseling, it's going to be done. No, it's really such a long journey process, because like what I have explained before, bullying is such a habitual and repeated. And what we understand when it becomes to repeated or habitual is not going to be done or solved only in one way. So there are some type of bullying. First is physical bullying, second is verbal bullying, third is social bullying, and the last one is cyberbullying. So what we have known is mostly about physical bullying, like when the other students hitting, kicking, or pinching, or even spitting, or maybe making mean or rude hand gestures toward another students. But we also have kind of verbal bullying, when maybe, for example, name calling in Indonesia. In here, students are trying to call parents' name instead of the student's name, because they feel like, it's going to show a superior, or maybe they tend to show that they are more popular or stronger than the other students when they call their parents' name instead of the student's name. And also insult and teasing and intimidation can be counted as a verbal bullying as well. Even simply threatening to cause harm, it can also count as a verbal bullying. Next is social bullying. This one actually is such a dangerous thing, especially in the high school students, because it tends to be focused on damage reputation for someone or maybe for a group of people, because it can be done by lying or spreading rumors, which is in a bad intention, or leaving someone out on purpose, or telling others not to be friends with someone. This has actually happened so many times. Like when it's time for grouping in the class, okay, the teacher asks to make a group, maybe for one group consists with 4 students, and there is going to be one student or few students who is not going to get any group because they got a social bullying. One person might think, okay, don't be in a group with her or maybe with him. It's such a social bullying and it's really stressful. Or maybe embracing someone in public. Maybe we tend to make a joke, but in a purpose to hurt or humiliate that person in public area. And also damaging someone's social reputation or relationship. Even though, okay, this day we know kids make jokes every day. They think like, okay, I'm joking. Really, kids, especially in here in Indonesia, when they try to humiliate another students, for example, when they try to embarrass in a public area, then they are going to say, okay, no, I'm not only joking. This is really such a huge problem, because with the joke words, okay, I'm not even going to say sorry about it because I was joking. This is what we need to address for teachers and educators, because under or behind the joke words, actually there is heart. They feel already bad, or there is a person or student, they might not be comfortable with it. And then the last one is cyberbullying. We live in a digital age, so cyberbullying is also such an important point as well. For example, someone posting or sending hurtful texts, emails, or posts on social media, or making online threats, for example, or maybe, for example, deliberately exploiting others online. Maybe they make a group online, or maybe a Facebook group or Facebook class group, and one students can get joined because of the other person tried to provoke it, and it can lead an issues as well. So reported by kids aged 12 till 18, 4% said they were threatened with harm, and 2% said their property was destroyed on purpose, so it's a physical. And 5% said they were excluded from activities on purpose, so they faced a social bullying. 2.5% said they were pressured to do things they didn't want to do, so it ended up with a physical bullying. And 12% said that they had rumors spread about them. This is really dangerous, because social bullying really can damage someone's reputation, even though they are really good students. And 5% said they were pushed, shoved, tripped, or spit on. So it's obviously a physical bullying. And 13% said they were made fun of, or called name, or insulted. As you can see, based on the result reported by kids aged 12 till 18, mostly or most frequently, kids face social bullying. So it's not really a simple thing, or maybe just because we didn't see that someone else pushed them or pinching them or maybe kicking them, it doesn't mean that there is no bullying. Because like you can see in here, 13% said they were made fun, or maybe called names or insulted, and it's really hurting. Or maybe 12% said they had rumor spreads about them, which really can lead to uncomfortable and causes a bad grade in some certain areas. Okay, so bullying and its effect on the mental health of the students. So children who are bullied are at higher risk of developing anxiety and depression, and this can be attributed to the fact that they typically have a hard time making friends, which leads to loneliness. They also have trouble concentrating on their schoolwork and often suffer academically as a result. For example, when the students face social bullying, they don't even want to go to the school because I don't have friends. They feel lonely. How about if my teacher asks me to make a group? So they avoid certain class or they even choose to be absent. So it can really lead to the poor academic result. And studies have shown that children who are victims of bullying are twice as likely to drop out of school. Why? It's because, okay, I don't want to go to school. I'm too scared. I'm too scared to face those friends in the class. Maybe they are going to kicking me, or maybe they are going to spread the bad lights about me. So they don't want to go to the school. It's not only they don't want to go to the cafeteria, but even during the lesson, they are not comfortable for sitting on their chair. So the effects of bullying go beyond the immediate toll on the child who is being bullied. And studies have shown that child's parents would suffer from stress and depression after being informed that their child was being bullied at school. Like, for example, if the parents really have high empathy and they know that, okay, my children have been bullied at school, they really got stress and even depression. They might also have trouble sleeping because, okay, what is going to happen at my daughter or at my son's school tomorrow or maybe next morning? They also worry about it. So it's not comfortable as well for the parents. And the child siblings, for example, they're also getting affected if the bonds really strong enough. Okay, I don't want to see my little sister or maybe my little brother to feel bad at school. So they also think really hard. So actually bullying is really affects on everyone. So bullying is not only affects for the victims, but it also can affect for the bullies and the bystanders as well. For example, he refused to attend school or claims to have headache, stomach pains, or poor appetite. And of course, he's going to avoid the school. And he was lower grades after losing interest in the schoolwork because he is too afraid. For example, he doesn't mix much with his friends because, okay, maybe he faced such a social bullying. How could he become friends with many people if they face social bullying? And he has mood swings like depression, irritability, unhappiness, and anger because there's so much pressure as a victim of bullying. And he may also his personal belongings to the bullies. Maybe he just got something new from the parents, but okay, the bullies come and took them, or maybe break, or maybe just simple made fun of the new things they got. So he lost it, even though from the home, maybe he is really excited to have it at the schools, but the bully made it fun and made it even destroy it. And the bullies itself really get effects in a clear way because he has a bad grades. Because he become disrespectful to the adult as well. When they don't want to listen to the teachers, they don't care about the academic result, they only care about how to get to hurt another person. And also this has really happened, I think, in many countries, not only in my country. Those persons who kind of the bullying, they may be involved in wrongful activities like vandalism, dropping out of school, smoking, taking drugs or alcohol, because they usually tend to have a free life. They do whatever they want. They don't care about what older people try to tell them. And he is most likely to be caught for criminal behavior. And for the bystanders as well, it's going to have an effect because he feels angry and helpless for not knowing what to do. For example, like here in the pictures, as a bystanders, when he witnessed there was a bullying, he might also be afraid. How about if I become the next victim? So maybe if he's type of a sensitive person, then he might be overthinking at night or even get a nightmare. How about if I become the next victim of the bullying? How about if they come to me and ask me to shut up about what I have witnessed? So actually bystanders also become stressful just because they witness the bullying. So how to cope with bullying? As a student, the victim should know that fighting back is not going to solve the problem or make him feel better. Remember that you are not the problem and the bully is. Because when you encourage the students or the children, you don't say like you should fight them back. Okay, like you can see in here. Don't ask your children to defend themselves. Like, okay, why don't you defend yourself? Why are you so weak or so on? And you should have to fight back. Don't ask them like that because we don't know what actually they have been through. We were not there when they become a bullying victims. And always tell the students, try to tell the adult that they can trust when they become a victim of bullying. And as a teacher, understanding that the parents are under pressure as well is the key. Because it happened at the school, so the parents might also have some kind of depression or anxiety by knowing that the children get bullied at the school. And as the teacher, you should always get full story from the victim and don't question him like an investigator. What happened these days at the school is the teacher asks the victim or the students like an investigator, and they even get scared to tell the truth and explain that the school understands and will take action as soon as possible, which means that the schools with all of the rules really have to take the action as soon as possible. Not only, okay, we will investigate it until more victims. We really have to take action even if you only caught one victim. Don't make it or don't wait it until become a wider victims or bigger amount of the victim. And then get ready to take immediate action if the victim is in danger. Because it involves students and we have to take care of all of the students. But in this case, we have to know which one that really need more help. And also explain to the school policies on bully prevention. When we know like there are some kind of a bullying group, then we have really consider about the bully prevention in the really management or administration school. And also avoid blaming the bully's attitude. Emphasize the positive aspects of the bully. Just because we hear the full story from the victim doesn't mean that we should use the humiliate words toward the bullying. We also have to use kind words for them because no matter what, they are also children. If they get anger and we also use our anger words, it's not going to get along. It's not going to meet what actually the bully needs. Because like I have explained before, actually when someone bullying that actually there is something missing, whether they are feeling lonely at home or maybe they feel something before in the past that actually want them to show that they are superior, or maybe they want to show that they are stronger or more than anyone else. So ways to prevent bullying. First is multi-tiered system of supports, and try to identify struggling students early and provide supports that can be intensified if needed. So what we need as teachers and educators, we have to be able to identify if there is kind of students who seems like they don't want to get engaged in group activities, or even if they are introvert. We have to know what is the difference between introvert and also the victim of bullying. Because just because someone is introvert doesn't mean that they will always avoid what actually the class over, like any kind of activities that the teachers offer. Next, positive behavior intervention and support. So teach all kids about behavior expectation and help kids meet those expectations. You all can try to visit pbrs.org because it offers so many tools that teachers and parents and even students can watch and can get any kind of resources. And next, social emotional learning programs can help. Social emotional learning programs can help students to identify bullying and stand up safely and know how to report it, because in this kind of programs the teachers are going to teach the students how to be able to stand on their shoes, for example, and how to be a good bystanders. For example, just because we witness kind of bullying, it doesn't mean that we have to be freeze and stuck and just witness it without report it to the adult or to the teacher nearest to the area of bullying. So when we talk about a bullying, it's really closely to the lack of emotional intelligence. So teachers should try to teach the students about the emotional intelligence, because when the students have a balanced emotional intelligence, then they might not be a bully. Even if they become a victim, they will cope much way better. First, try to teach them about self-awareness. It's going to assess your strength and weakness and know your moods and triggers. It means like we teach the students to be able to understand their feelings. We are not going to avoid, or we are not going to, okay, this is a fake feeling or this is not true. In the self-awareness, we try to teach the students to be more aware about their emotions and their feeling as well. And then try to teach the students or the kids about self-regulation. Learn self-calming techniques, allow emotion to pass through you, and reflect before making decisions. In the emotional intelligence program, teachers can really try to, whether it's a deep breathing exercise to the children, or maybe kind of the reflection, or try to ask the students to do kind of journal. It's really good, especially for the bullies, because it can calm down themselves. And then try to teach about the motivation. And in this case, you're going to learn how to face challenge head on. So even if there are some kind of bad things happen, even if you become the victim of bullying, then you're going to bounce back again and try to cope faster than what people may not predict it. And then teach the kids or students about empathy. It means like be aware of the moods and viewpoints of others, and practice acts of kindness on purpose, and be generous, reliable, and slow to judge. When the students have high empathy, or at least have empathy, they will not bully another students no matter what, even if they feel bad, even if they feel, okay, the other students are better than me, or the other students are stronger than me, they are really going to accept it, and they only will face it and try to motivate themselves instead of try to humiliate, or instead of try to maybe fight with them. So we really have to encourage the student to have empathy, teach them how to be aware about the other person's feelings as well. If we do something bad, how it's going to affect on themselves. And last thing is social skills. Try to teach them, reach out to others, and listen well, and work to diffuse disputes, and trust that your ideas add to the conversation as well. When we try to teach social skills, even for the victim of bullying, then they will likely to be able to cope and to be stronger again, even after face bullying. So it's going to be great when we try to teach the students about the social skills, because some students might feel or might face social bullying when the other students or group of students don't want to be friends or don't want to get involved with them. So it's really important to teach the students social skills. So the conclusion is, bullying is a major and serious problem in school and can affect students both psychologically and physically. And their stress might be so great that students will skip school in order to avoid the abuse. And those that do stay in class will often have poor performance. Even though they go to school, they cannot really concentrate in the subject that given by the teacher because their mind is actually running somewhere else because they're afraid of the several things. And because of this, it's important that measures are taken to prevent bullying in the first place, if possible. And school-wide campaigns are a good start, while teachers can also help by keeping an eye out for bullying and helping any victims themselves. Remember, as teachers or educators, we all have to be more aware about what actually happens in the class. I think just it for my presentation today. Thank you so much for listening, and I hope you all can take something from my presentation. Thank you so much. I'm giving back to Dr. Iman.
Thank you, thank you, thank you. Really more than excellent. I wrote already on the group. It's very smart and also it's informative lecture. Thank you very much. And let's focus on the positive things. Let's talk about motivation. Let's talk about many good things that we need to distribute in the behavior of educators. Because as I said before, not all teachers can be educators. We are in a real need for educators, not only for teachers, because it's the humanity. And also, let's congratulate you because you already described all types of bullying, not only physical bullying, but we have many things to be focused because not all people will be angry by if you can undergo them to physical violence. Some can be hurt by only if you are shouting them, for example. Sensitive students. So I'm saying every time to my students, we are not here to hurt you. We are not here to cause any pain for you. Let's learn without causing any pain. Let's learn and teach our students without causing any problem, any psychological problem to them. Because as you said, it will not only affect the victim, it will affect, I think, the society totally, not only the victim. Thank you very much. Thanks for delivering very smart and short lecture. And thank you again and again. Let's move to the second speaker, our lovely sister, Prof. Dr. Mehreen. I'm very happy to see you again within the camera, my dear sister. Congratulations, and all of us are happy by your presence again. Most welcome, my dear sister, and the floor is yours.
Assalamu alaikum to everybody. I greet everyone in the universe, the greeting of peace and blessings. And thank you so much, my sister Iman. It is always an honor to be on the platform. It's an honor to share the platform with such amazing, esteemed speakers as well. So thank you, IDYM, for putting this together, especially for us discussing such important topics, which are crucial for us all to learn about and for us to teach what we know a little bit of and to learn from each other more about, because we need to actually make and implement these changes and whatever we learn in society around us to make the differences. So, Hardiana, your presentation was excellent. I really enjoyed every bit of it. I think it was a wonderful start to today's program. The bullying in schools is rife. Bullying around us, even at adult level, is rife. Violence in schools, sadly, is becoming a kind of a norm. And that is why such topics that are so important for us to discuss. Although bullying nowadays sometimes seems to be seen as it's part of growing up. If you talk to some people, they just assume that, well, kids are just being kids. It's not really just bullying. It's almost like people prefer to push bullying to the wayside. And why is that so? Why do we wish to do that? we have got stats that show us that children as young as 10 years old have committed suicide because of bullying. Children, I know of a child who was in Florida. I think I read an article a while back. She was 12 years old. She killed herself because of being bullied, and nobody was wanting to believe her. I know of a little girl, 10 years old, hung herself. Why? Because of being bullied, and she was scared to speak up because of being regarded as a failure in her family if she spoke the truth. So these are realities that are out there, realities that are being faced by our children in the schools. And we sometimes, because we're out of the school arena, we are not aware of what those children are going through. Perhaps because we're too busy in our lives that we don't have the time to listen when the child is trying to talk. Or perhaps we've set certain parameters that make it so difficult for the children to actually come up to us to speak about such important things that are happening to them and with them. So as much as we can say schools are important in the role that they play, I think every single adult in society also has their role to play to try and help the schools, help the teachers, help the children, because the schools have a lot to have to cope with every single child. The teacher has a lot to cope with every single child in that classroom or every single child that they are teaching. So schools can and they really have to play a very key role in tackling what bullying is as a form of abuse. And remember, whole school can have anti-bullying programs. And these programs are needed because that is where they can promote peer support systems. And when I say peer support systems, I'm talking about how the children themselves can get involved and how to help train teachers, how to help actually training the parent to cope with certain things. Because we know that half of the world's students are actually bullied between the ages of 13 and 16. And they've experienced violence in or around their school at some way or form. That's what stats teach us. I'm asking us right now, as people who know the stats, what have we done? What have we done now that we know that to try and alter that at all? What have we done to help our teachers? So as the speaker before me said, what is violence and bullying? It is key for us to understand this. Yes, and she's explained it excellently, where violence is the threatened use of power, which results in the physical or psychological harm to the victim. And of course, bullying is the form of the violence. But I want to add to that a little bit. So yes, bullying is a form of the violence. But for me, I want to teach and say this. Bullying is a violation, not just a violence, a form of violence. Bullying is an actual violation of the dignity and rights that child or person that is being bullied has to have the freedom to be who they need to be. And that violation is what we need to try and work on. That violation is something we need to curb. And that's what these programs need to do, because like we heard earlier, bullying takes different forms in schools. We heard that it takes the physical form. And by this, what do we mean? We're talking about hitting the children, kicking children, shoving the children around, slapping other students, pulling off the hair of other kids, etc. That's the physical form. Then, of course, you have the verbal form, which, for example, is the name calling, the continuous name calling, the teasing continuously, the belittling expressions or opinions that keep coming out in the hallways of class, between classes, etc., or even during lessons by someone. Then, of course, you have the relational abuse or bullying. And by that, I mean the ostracizing. I'm talking about here spreading rumors about a child to try and cause harm that child cannot have relations or speak to other children, or if anyone is seen speaking to the child, it tries to cause a gap between that relation. So there are many, many forms of these bullying. And yes, there is cyberbullying too. Cyberbullying is rife, especially because we know all our children today are technologically inclined. So they have to know a little bit more. Cyberbullying is, of course, a distinctive kind of bullying, and it differs because of this constant risk of public exposure. So we have to also take care and be careful what exactly are our children being exposed to, and what exactly this kind of bullying will do to harm our children and how we can curb that from happening. Now, bullying, we must remember, is not just about the student-on-student violence in a school. It's about the fights between these attacks that sometimes can even have a gang culture. So it's not just a one person that can be the bully. Sometimes it's a gang of people. It's a gang of people that actually try and become the gang, or the people in the school who is a gang of, like, say, 5 or 6 people, and they actually take control of certain hallways, certain grades, certain things. So it's not necessarily just one child who is a bully. It can be gang orientated. And when we're talking about this, we need to understand that here, there's a lot more involved, because when there's a gang of kids, which I have seen, we've seen it in South Africa quite often, there's a gang of children, and then there's obviously what goes with that, weaponry. Those children somehow are able to take in weapons like knives, guns, etc., into schooling arenas. And we have to question exactly what social and protective measures are we taking to make sure our kids are coming in without these into our schools. So schools, yes, we do have this formal duty to protect all our children from a physical sense and a psychological sense. But sometimes it's a bit difficult because, like we said, our teachers have got so much on their plates. Our teachers have got to deal with so many different aspects. And when they do have to sometimes find so-and-so is having this natural ability to become a bully, I'm seeing the bullying tactics in this child, I'm seeing what's happening in the child. Do you really think the teacher has the time or capacity in this day and age, with whatever the systems and governments are trying to push on them to make sure their stats are clear, that they make sure the syllabus is met on time, etc., that they are going to be able to do what they would rightfully love to do to help the child? It's not necessarily all about the teacher. It's about where this child is coming from, the parent. And I just have to say, students who are bullied is sometimes, yes, as the previous speaker said, they do go into the form of depression. I treat many, many children who come from this. They have anxiety, and the sad reality is that it's not even noticed by the people within their home. It's not a noticed depression. It's not a noticed anxiety. These children who are bullied have health issues. They have poor academic achievements. Their behavior problems are even at school because they become recluse, because they become quiet. They actually sometimes become the dropouts of the school, and yet they have so much of potential within them. And a small number of these children who are bullied can also sometimes end up retaliating in violent ways themselves, because they find there's no source for them to go to help. So the only way they think that they can help themselves is by retaliating in the same or violent way to the person who's bullying them. And guess what happens? They bullied for so many days on, so many months on, even years on end. Nobody listens to them. But the one day they decide to retaliate, because it's in a violent form to save themselves, they get into trouble. And when they have to be asked, why did you do that? And they say, because so-and-so has done this to me for way too long, they're not listened to. They're still not heard. What happens to their mindset? What are we doing to these children when we actually question when they speak to us? Now, violence and bullying not only affect academic abilities of our children or their learning, it also impacts on their social development of these young children. The young people of today, remember, are trying to develop themselves. They're in crucial stages of trying to self-develop, grow who they are, find their personalities. They are keen to experience and explore life. And students who experience this kind of violence, especially at school, and this kind of bullying, they're more likely to have difficulties developing a kind of, how can I say, democratic, authentic being. They wouldn't have the ability to be able to have the empathy, like was said before. They won't be able to have respect for themselves enough because the bully has made them start to disrespect, so they have less self-esteem. They won't be able to have that much respect for others because they continue to doubt other people. If someone is really good to them, they would start to question, oh my word, why are you being nice to me? I'm so used to people being bad with me. So it affects them at very, very many levels. And at some point, it's going to cause themselves to become questionable of their own tolerance. They become, they tend to become ambiguous with how they tolerate themselves, how they tolerate people around them. So it has many, many futuristic impacts on our children. The question is, are we noticing this? Are we aware of what the children are going through? And are the children themselves aware of what they are going through? And what are we doing to try and help them to help themselves? It's one thing for us to know it. It's one thing for us to talk to them about it. But what are we teaching them to help them help themselves about what they're going through? Because that is the key. The key is to be able to make our children aware. But if we have to talk more, what exactly are the challenges then that we are facing in today's world? Violence and bullying, yes, they're very challenging to have to deal with in any school. But what is regarded as bullying or violence is sometimes just thought of as, well, it's an opinion that it's being a bully. The child is just being a child. We make excuses for this type of behavior because we don't wish to have to engage in the actual process, because that's what it is. It becomes a process to have to cope and then deal with the parent. And half the time, guess what? The parents don't wish to know the truth about their child. And that is the sad reality. When a parent has to get told your child is actually showing bullying behavior at school, parents do not want to believe it. Parents themselves actually start to fight with a teacher when a teacher says your child is showing bullying behavior. On the other hand, when your child is the victim of bullying and your teacher has to go to the parent and say, your child is the victim of bullying at school, you have a parent who says to the child, well, you're actually a weakling. You should be able to stand up for yourself. I don't wish to hear this from your teacher. What are we doing to our children when we don't wish to listen to what they are saying? And what are we doing to our teachers when we don't listen to what our teachers are observing? Remember, your teachers are having and spending more time with your children than you are. So when your teachers are telling you certain things about your children, please, as a parent, listen. Listen attentively and work with the teacher so that you can have this holistic being of a child who has grown themselves to become the best that they can be, and learn certain awareness skills, learn certain developmental skills on how to cope with these mechanisms of bullying that are happening around them. Because we need to understand, yes, there's a lot that has to happen, but many teachers are actually unaware of certain approaches that can be developed within the school arena that can help with them to deal with bullying. And I'm talking about approaches like restorative justice. Do our teachers know, and have they had sessions and teaching sessions on what can be done to restore justice if bullying and violence happens in a school? Have the governments of every country taken time to ensure our teachers go through this phase so they themselves get help to know how to do this? You obviously then have to have conflict resolution skills and management skills for teachers too, because they have to know how to be able to do this, especially when you have to deal with parents who themselves don't wish to know the truths about their children. What do parents then do? What do children do? What do teachers do about conflict resolution? Of course, we then have the peer mediation, and that for me is key, is when we can get children to actually help children. And that is where our key lies. Sometimes it's actually better for us to get our children, our youth, our school children actually involved in the actual procedures so they can be the ones to help their fellow children, because that grows them into becoming and developing better individuals, getting stronger help, knowing that they can be better, not better than the next, but they can be better equipped within each one of themselves so that they know. Let us talk about these things. Let us teach each other. If one is doing wrong, and if I'm coming to tell you you're doing this wrong, you're hurting so and so, it's not me being horrible. It's me being nice to you. Let's talk about things. So we need to know that there are lots of challenges our teachers are facing. There's lots of challenges that our kids are facing. There are many challenges the world is pushing through to our parents today, including economical. But there are remedies, and it takes time and our effort for us to have to find what exactly these remedies are. How exactly can we deal with these remedies? And these approaches take time to learn, but they require development of specific kinds of skills, the skills and knowledge, the skills and attitude. You have to have these put in place to be put into practice. the practice that has to work, because it can be difficult for a teacher to find the time and motivation to have to deal with violence and bullying in a very democratic and constructive manner, especially with today's world and the way it is at a teaching level. Now, how can schools get active when it comes to certain things? A good place for me, in my opinion, is to always start, like I said, with speak to the kids in the school. Speak with the students to do a review for you. Ask the kids, where do they feel vulnerable? Where do they feel danger in the school? Where do they actually feel safe in the school? What makes them feel like they are in danger? What makes them feel safe when they are in school? Where are the areas in the school that they think violence is being experienced? Where do they think certain things need to change so that they can feel safer when they're having tea breaks or lunch breaks, etc.? So, for example, ask them what measures they think, as the children, what measures do they think they would like to see happen to make the school environment safer for them so that there's no violence, there's no bullying, etc. Ask the same students that are in that school because it's their school. Give them that right that they deserve, because they are the only ones who'll be able to put in place what they think works for them. So we can sit and analyze at a boardroom level and say, because we're part of the governing board of the school, this is what we think needs to happen. But are you part of the kids? No. So do the surveys with the children in the school. Take your stats from the actual children who are experiencing the school and the environment of the school and the bullying within the school and the violence in the school. Take the surveys and the stats from them, and then go surveying every student's opinion, understanding it. And that is going to provide for us what is good evidence, what we can use to make the target for measuring certain apps that are needed. What do we need to take cognizance of? How do we increase supervision in certain areas of the school, etc., etc.? So it's really, really key for us to know, because as young people themselves, they are often the agents of change. That's what I always say. The young children are the agents of change, and we need to give them that boundary to say, here's what we want from you, because this is your space. And we respect you and we respect your space. So we want to make this space the best for you, the safest for you. Help us to do that. You'll be surprised that even the one who is the bully will come forth. Because remember, like I said to you, bullying is a violation of somebody else. But I also find when you're consulting with these children, I have actually had 1 or 2 bullies that I had consulted with, I had actually given therapy to. Bullies themselves need help. So let's not ostracize them because they're bullies. Let's give them the help that's needed. So we help the victim, yes, but let's also help the bully, because that bully also has potential to grow. That bully can become the best friend of the person that they have bullied. I've seen it happen. It's possible. But that's only when we actually get the kids involved in how to remedy their situations that they are experiencing. It's crucial. It's key for us to give them that. But I want to please appeal to all parents. When the teacher tells you they're noticing these signs in your child, please listen. When your child comes to you and tells you certain things are happening at school, please listen. Do not just brush it aside. When the bully themselves also have certain characteristic traits, look for them. Are you perhaps a bullying parent at home, where your child is feeling that I can take this into any arena that I'm at and I'll get what I want? So the key to every single aspect that we're talking about today is awareness. Let's teach ourselves awareness. Let's teach our children how to be aware of themselves, their surroundings. That's why I say, let's ask them, let's do the surveys. Go and do a survey on the kids in your schools right now. Do a list, a checklist, give it to them. Let them take their time, and don't give them names. They don't have to put names on it. Anonymous, here's your checklist. I want you to just put down your answers. What do you think? And then sit with them, and you will be surprised. You will be surprised at what results your actual children and students give to you. Initiatives of all of what I've just said is what we need to support our children, to support our teachers, to support our parents, to support our communities, because that's where it's all about. Remember, bullying starts in a school. Yes, the the violence starts in a school, yes, but it can come out of the school. And then it hits the streets of your community, and then it hits your home. And then who becomes the bully in your school becomes the bully in your home. And then you start to question, what have I done? Why is my child behaving in this way? So we need to understand. I want to end by just giving a quick example of something that happened here in South Africa, in my area, about 3 weeks ago. So there's a high school not too far from where I am at. And every school in South Africa has got massive rules and regulations, procedures regarding cell phones being taken to schools. They're not allowed to. So if you are a child in a school here, and if you feel that there's something or someone you need to contact, you go to your principal's office or the secretary of the school, and you tell them, I need to contact home, or I need to contact whoever, and the teacher will then take that responsibility of who you contact. So no child needs to take a phone here. And that's purely because we've had too many kidnappings of children. We've had too many issues where children lie to teachers, et cetera, and they leave school early. So it's actually, for me, a good rule to have. And we had a high school near where I live, where a child took the phone to the school without the parent knowing, but the deputy principal of that school found this phone with the child. Of course, the school has their rule that if you are found with this phone, I'm going to confiscate it. The school confiscates your phone and we keep it away from you. And then you go home and you tell your parent that the parent needs to come to school to pick up the phone from us. So there are other schools who have even stricter versions where they confiscate your phone from you and your parent has to pay 500 Rand as a fine, because the parent also needs to be responsible for what the child leaves home with. So that is also a good source. Be that as it may, to cut the long story short, this child argued with the deputy principal, banged the deputy principal's table, tried to bully him into getting the phone back, and was then suspended and asked to leave the school. And the call was made to the parent to say, please come and fetch him because of this behavior. The child stormed out of the school. So the school carried on as per normal, waiting, assuming that this child is waiting in the waiting area because that's where they thought he's sitting. But he had actually got himself out of the school somehow, gone to a petrol station, fetched a little bit of petrol, came back to the school, put the petrol onto the deputy principal's vehicle and lit it. So he literally set this car alight purely because of his phone being confiscated and his parent being called. Thank goodness, of course, it never had a catalyst effect. The fire was put out, but he ran away. He was obviously charged as a minor, and he's still on the run. 16 years old. Now you have to wonder, who would be actually the person we'd say is responsible for that? Does the parent take the responsibility because you were negligent and your child had access to this phone to take it to the school without you knowing? Is the deputy principal who was too stern? Is it the rule of the school that's too stern? Or is the child, oh, he's just a child, let's be lenient with him. He was probably just having a bad day. There's a reason for him to take it through. The reason I'm giving this example is because the behavior of the mental health issue, that's all it's about. It's the mental health issue. I will do as I please. I don't care who thinks what. Can you imagine the mental state of this child when he could leave the school, had the thought process to go to fetch the fuel, come back to the school to set this car alight? What is the mental state of a 16-year-old to be able to do something of this kind? So we really, really need to look into lots of the things that are happening around us. Don't ignore it. Do not ignore what's happening around you. Become more aware. I say this over and over again. The key to anything for us to change, especially with the bullying, with the violence in our schools, is to be aware. You as an adult, be aware of what's happening around you. You as the parent in your home, please be more aware of what your child is watching, what your child is doing, what your child is taking to school. How is your child performing in school? The onus is also on you. It's not just on the teacher. And please listen when our teachers talk. And teachers, please, if you do not feel equipped enough to deal with a bullying child, there's nothing wrong with asking, how can I cope? How can I deal with it? Because it's a holistic thing. We all need to work together to make sure that we can actually eradicate this form of bullying and we need to eradicate the violence in our schools for our children. Thank you so much again to IDYM, and thank you, Dr. Iman, for having me.
Excellent, excellent, excellent.
Thank you so much.
Really, we are proud to have you, my dear sister. You are adding a lot to our knowledge, and you said one brilliant word. You said, listen, listen. We need to listen from our heart. We need to listen to others from our heart, because we need to understand others and respect others, and respect also their problems and their challenges. I'm not teaching for kids, I'm teaching for girls. All of them are mature because they are in academic life. But many times I'm feeling they have many problems, like traveling, like being away from their families. So they have many social problems. So we must appreciate, we must motivate, we must listen to them without hurting them. We need to be mothers. We need to be fathers before being educators, because we need to make them feel that they have supportive people. Appreciation to all letters you said, because you touched a lot of many problems, and also you are talking from the heart. So happy return. I'm very happy to see you again. All of us are saying, you are wishing you speedy recovery, and alhamdulillah, you are better now. And what we are saying about avoiding violence and be kind and so on is already mentioned in all religions. For example, in our Muhammad upon him said that we must be kind people. We are not allowed to hurt anyone inside or outside of our religion. So if we are following our religions, our issues in a good manner, so we will be better people. So I think the issue is related to bad practices of everything. So if you are talking about violence, it's something like bad brackets. And also I think if I'm suffering from anything, it means that I'm victim. I'm not allowed to do any bad things against other. I must filter what is done with me. And I'm saying this to my students as a supervisor. I'm saying it to them, I'll do all things. I'm in love with my supervisors when I am student as like as you. And I'll try to filter any bad things, because we must have our self-awareness, and we must respect others. And also we are not allowed to repeat any bad things that we received from others. So appreciation to all your letters, my dear sister. I appreciate and love you too much. All of us are happy by your presence. Thanks a lot. Thanks for opening your camera to see that alhamdulillah, you are fine now. We are happy by your presence. Congratulations, my dear sister, and inshallah we are hoping you a full speedy recovery. Congratulations again for the success of your lecture. And let's congratulate Miss Diana and Ambassador Mehrin, and let's transfer to our dear sister, Miss Laura. The floor is yours, my dear sister. Most welcome.
Hello, everyone. Greetings. I am really happy and grateful to be here with you. Thank you so much, Dr. Eman, for the introduction and for giving me the chance to be here today. Thank you, IDYM.
We are very happy by your presence, my dear sister. Most welcome. The floor is yours.
Thank you so much.
Put it at full screen. Excellent. Excellent.
Are the slides moving?
Yes.
Thank you so much. So first of all, I wish to thank IDYM for giving me the chance to be here today, and for choosing this topic, which is very important, bullying and physical violence in schools, because many schools have this problem, and it should not be a reality in the schools, because schools should be places to teach tolerance. And this is what I will try to present. And tolerance is also related to the Sustainable Development Goals, especially with SDG 16, which means to promote peaceful and inclusive societies for sustainable development, provide access to justice for all, and build effective, accountable, and inclusive institutions at all levels. The schools should be places where children feel safe. And target 16.2 is says that we should protect children from abuse, exploitation, trafficking, and violence of all kinds. We should end abuse, exploitation, trafficking, and all forms of violence against and torture of children. Violence in schools should be totally banned. We need to stop bullying, and we need to create safe and healthy learning environments, because we are building the adults of tomorrow. The children who are standing before us today are those who will shape society in the future. And we are building bit by bit the adults of tomorrow who need perfect conditions. They need to grow and to become responsible citizens. I know that maybe you have heard of the experiment where plants were bullied. Plants were given angry words, and other plants were given kind words. And this, although they are just a part of nature and not a human being, this also affected plants. The result was obvious. The plants that were bullied were not allowed to develop, were looking in a very, in a way that a child would look who is bullied. So imagine those plants who need sunlight, water, and good soil to grow. We imagine that this is all we need, but students, the children, needs the sense of security, need appreciation and motivation to grow, just like flowers. And if they are subjected to bullying, and if they are not offered kind words, the effect will be seen. Children spend a lot of time at school, sometimes even more than they spend with their families. And that is why schools are the environment that offers them a great portion of their development, and not only education, but they also develop their personalities. This is why they need safe, these environments need to be safe. The children need to find positive motivation. They need to be encouraged to learn, to develop their personalities. Violence should have no place in schools. There should be zero violence against children, and this is one of the Sustainable Development Goals. And let us hope that by 2030, this will be reached. There is a great percentage of children who experience violent behavior, and sometimes the violent discipline at home is reflected in bullying that these children practice at schools. Children who are subjected to violence tend to behave in a violent way. This is what they learn, and this is how they behave. And the reason for their behavior might be the way they are treated. This is why we should educators need to keep a close connection with the families and try to see if the children are suffering at home, and if the bullies who display a bad behavior at school maybe have this type of behavior learned from home. And we need to educate both the students and the parents. There is a great impact of this violence. It leads to injuries, and not only this, not only the body is affected, but also the soul of the children who are developing. And in this stage, when they are children, when their personalities are not fully developed, it is very important to motivate them and to build their self-confidence, because otherwise they will experience a lack of self-confidence, they will have low motivation, and it may even threaten the development of the brain and the nervous system. This affects their mental health, and it may lead to very serious illnesses later on. So bullying and violent behavior should not be treated lightly. It will have results in negative coping and health risk behaviors. A child who has been subjected to bullying will face inability to communicate and adapt in society. That child will become an adult who will have problems communicating, will have problems believing in themselves and believing that they have rights. And thus their future opportunities will be negatively influenced. That adult will never believe that they have good qualities, that they have positive qualities, that they really deserve anything. All children have the right to education. And unfortunately, statistics say that 246 million children worldwide are affected by school-related violence each year. 1 in 3 students has been bullied by their peers at school in the last month, and at least 1 in 10 children have experienced cyberbullying, and this has become reality because they are attracted to technology, they have access to technology, and technology brings lots of advantages but also disadvantages because they are more easily reached by the use of the internet and networking sites. Things such as rumors, teasing, gossiping, insults, threats, lies, name-calling, harassment, or simply mean words are things that affect children. And this can happen during cyberbullying or the bullying that happens at school. As Mrs. Herdiana mentioned before me, we should know the difference between conflict and bullying. We should try to see if bullying is really happening or if it's just an instance of children being playful or simply mean to one another. When someone says or does something unintentionally hurtful and they only do it once, that is not nice. And then we should just notice the situation, see if we need, if the students need our intervention, if we need to talk to them or simply let them solve their own problems, and then see if they have reached a positive result. When someone says or does something unintentionally hurtful and they do it once, again, this is mean. And we should take the same action, try to look at the situation and analyze it properly. But when someone says or does something unintentionally hurtful and they keep doing it over a period of time, even when a teacher tells them to stop or shows them that they are causing harm, this is bullying. And this is what we need to tell our students, to recognize when something mean turns into bullying, because this can have long-term effects. We need to teach them about friendship, compassion, kindness, respect, and acceptance, and teach them how to protect themselves against bullying and how to protect others against it. Children need to form relationships, and it is our duty to encourage them to be friendly and to form healthy bonds with their peers. Bullying is the unwanted aggressive behavior among school-aged children that involves a real or perceived power imbalance. The behavior is repeated or has the potential to be repeated over time. So bullying is a lot about power. It's about those children who feel the need to show that they are stronger. They need to show their status among the others. But this is just a false image, and this is what we need to tell them. Parents also need to know the signs of bullying and closely watch their children. We need to watch their students, and they need to look at their children in the environment of their families, and always talk to the teachers if they see any signs that their child might be bullied. Unexplained injuries such as bruises or cuts might be signs of bullying. When the student doesn't want to go to school anymore and their grades drop suddenly, this could be a sign that they are experiencing a negative situation at school. Difficulty sleeping or frequent nightmares, changes in eating habits, frequent stomach aches, feeling sick, or maybe faking illness in order to stay home and not go to school, not face the bullies, not face the others who are placing them in an unwanted situation, can mean that the student is going through something negative at school. Sudden loss of friends and avoiding social situations also can be a sign that something is happening, and the feelings of helplessness or decreased self-esteem. When children don't believe in themselves anymore, if they feel low, if they avoid meeting their friends, if you find that the children are in any of these situations, first of all, as parents, you need to talk to the teachers to see if school might be the problem for this behavior. We also need to look at the bullies, not only at the bullied children, because if we try to help the bullies, we will go to the root of the problem. We need to look beneath the surface, because yes, they are violent, they use mean words, they might use physical violence, but they are also children. They are children just like the others. And behind this behavior of bullying could be abuse. Maybe that child was abused in their family. Maybe it's fear. Maybe they don't know how to communicate in another way other than showing how strong they are. It's an image they are building to show the others. It might be just a false image to help themselves with the fear of showing who they really are. Maybe there is some trauma. They are definitely seeking attention. They are seeking power and control over the others. It could be because of peer pressure. The others might want the bully to show that he has control over others, that he is strong. Maybe the situation could come from a parent who is too permissive or too authoritarian. Maybe the bully has sensory processing disorder, or it could be a situation where he is mimicking what he is seeing in a video game, on social media. And most of the times, bullies have been bullied themselves. There are many types of bullying, such as verbal bullying, calling names, spreading gossip, talking in a mean way to a person. Social bullying, such as excluding a child from group activities. Physical bullying, pulling hair, pushing, and so on. And cyberbullying. And all of them are equally harmful. Bullying can affect everyone. The children who are bullied feel the physical and the mental pain of that action. The bullies also suffer because they will be feared and it will be difficult for them to make friends. And the ones who witness bullying, because they will feel that they haven't done enough to help. The effect of bullying and violence in schools can be low academic results, even fear of coming to school, isolation, communication difficulties, depression, anxiety, health problem, and even somatization, which means that when mental factors such as stress cause physical symptoms and often long-term. These symptoms are real and not imaginary. When a child is placed in a situation of bullying, he can develop different symptoms that affect his health and affect his functioning as a normal student, for example, prevent him from studying, from reaching his full potential at school and in his day-to-day life. There are many examples of exercises that teachers can do to prevent bullying, to identify situations of bullying. One of these is called the virtual school trip. For example, the students are asked to name 3 students they would like to take on a trip and 3 students that have to stay home. This exercise helps teachers to see if any students have problems, if they are excluded from groups. Role play teaches students to become more tolerant, and it encourages them to understand the feeling of others when they place themselves in situations, for example, when they exchange roles and the person who is bullied is given a role in which he is placed in a position of power in comparison to the others. The living picture is an exercise which stimulates identifying positive qualities. For example, the students are asked to to look at the picture and to give their peers the qualities of the objects they see in the picture based on positive qualities of the others. For example, they might say that the student is like the sun because that person has a kind personality and always makes the others smile. Children should be encouraged to write thank you letters or notes. They should be encouraged to find things to be grateful for and find positive qualities in others. This helps them connect with other students and recognize that the others have things which should be, qualities which should be admired. And another exercise that I use in my class is called the secret angel. So we need to learn the importance of giving and helping others. Children are encouraged to leave positive messages for one another, such as "Have a nice day," "You've done well today," "You were great in that class." Things like these. They might seem like little gestures, but it helps a lot when students are motivated, when they feel that they have something to look forward to. So what can we do to put an end to bullying? We need to promote equality, diversity, and tolerance, ensure protection for all students, give examples of kindness, and the best example is our own, report any act of violence in schools, establish clear rules, have special lessons for students and educators, and identify bullies, help them to see the advantages of being kind, and encourage students to collaborate and work together. Students should learn these rules. I will not bully others. I will walk away if someone is mean to me. I will not join in if someone is being mean. I will be a friend to someone who is picked on. I will include others. I will help the person being bullied by saying, "Please stop." And most important, I will tell a teacher or another adult, because children can make a difference. Schools should be peaceful learning environments. Students need to know about respect and tolerance. One way I use to teach students about tolerance is through theater, because integrating role play and theater in the teaching process raises students' awareness, social awareness, improves their self-confidence, encourages their imagination, improves their memory and communication skills, and most important of all, it teaches them about empathy and tolerance. It teaches them how to care about the feelings of others, how to be tolerant, and how to care, how to make the classroom a positive environment. In our school, we have this initiative. It's called Steps of Positive Messages. We have placed messages on the steps of the school, and they can be these ones in the picture can be translated as: offer someone a smile, follow your dreams, learn to be happy, be human, achieve the impossible, choose your words carefully, spread your wings, and color your world. They are meant to create an environment of peace, of happiness, of motivation. Because if students are happy, they are less inclined to become bullies. They need to be motivated, and they need to have their skills and abilities recognized. This is also in our school song, which has the words, "The world is mine, and I'll make it a better place. Let's be better. Let us win today. I am happy." We are trying by every means possible to encourage our students to be kind to one another and to be kind to themselves. Because peace begins with tolerance and respect for everyone. Keep peace, and thank you for your attention. Thank you so much, IDYM, for giving me the chance to share my views today.
Thank you, my dear sister. Really, your lecture is amazing and awesome lecture. You touched a very important point. You talked about tolerance, because we don't like to be victim. We don't like to talk about victims, but we need to tolerate and we need to modify. So hats off to your points. Really, I appreciated your lecture too much because don't be a victim. Try to change, try to modify, try to initiate or create better environment for yourself. So you talked about self-awareness and self-confidence. It is very, very important. And also, I need to say only one phrase because I saw Dr. Beasley entered again with us. So let's welcome him. Sorry. But I need to say that we need to be good memories. We need to be educators, to be remembered, and we need to be remembered by good memories because till now I lost my professor. I think now more than 23 years. Till this moment, I am remembering her. When I am doing any good things to my students, they are saying thank you. I'm saying I'm very grateful and thankful to her soul because she learned me a lot. So we need to be good memories for our students because we will live and we will be replaced by them, so they are our leaders of tomorrow or our leaders of today. So we don't like to hurt any student. We don't like to hurt anyone. We don't like to be a source of any pain. We are not here to do any painful effect for anyone. Thanks a lot and hats off to your lecture. Really, you added a lot to our knowledge. You did very smart lecture, and thank you very much again, Mrs. Laura. And let's thank all our respected speaker before her and also next to her. Let's repeat our thankful and grateful words to Miss Hardiana and also Prof. Dr. Ambassador Mehran. And now we need to transfer to our colleague. Let's welcome him, and I'm very grateful and thankful for your patience because, as you know, we are here in one family, so we are appreciating all others. So if anyone in a need to start, so we are asking others to wait. So thanks a lot for your valuable time, and let's go. The floor is yours. So welcome again, my dear brother. Can you open your camera, please? I need to spotlight you. If you can, please.
At the moment I can't because I'm having an issue with my computer. It crashed. Sorry.
Okay, don't worry. Don't worry.
Yeah, yes,
So,
please. So apologies.
Now, the floor is yours.
Okay, thank you so very much, especially
Most
invited
welcome.
guests, ladies and gentlemen. First of all, let me start by saying thank you so very much, Ambassador Datima, for the invitation that we're going to be having a conversation about bullying. The IYDM is indeed doing a great job. And like you said just now, we're all family here. We may be separated by oceans and lands, but we're all family. And I want to talk about the issue of bullying and its impact mentally on youth because even across the world, we can see that bullying has become a real serious concern for governments, organizations. And so addressing the current issue of bullying in school is very, very important. And if we don't, it will have serious implications on our youth and their future. The psychological impact of bullying on children isn't only about, being beaten up or feeling less than or feeling less appreciated, but it's the psychological and social impact that it has on the community afterwards. Somehow people think that bullying is a part of life. And I remember growing up, within my community, bullying was not something that was frowned upon. You were told if you're strong, you stand up to the bully. I would have seen that in my community. But as we move into this space of understanding that everyone has rights, a child has a right to be protected from violence. I think the society is becoming more aware of not just the rights of the child or the rights of the individual, but simple humanity, as a whole. And so an opportunity to stand up for yourself in those days was seen as a point of bravery. If you can stand up to the bully, then you're stronger. But you should not have to stand up to a bully. You should not have to be affected by an environment and feel unsafe when you leave, your parents' place. And so eh, I really want to bring balance to the conversation because, some kids naturally will not accept being bullied. But then there are others who might not have that social skill to stand up for themselves or to say, I am being bullied. Others fear that if they tell their parents, there will be ramifications. You know, Lots of children who experience and tolerate bullying has very low self image and poor perception or poor evaluation of who they are and their value. And this means that the responsibility to empower our young people should rest first of all with the parents. We are responsible for what our children believe about themselves. You know, I also think that, when a child is bullied and feels lonely, they feel unhappy, they feel afraid, they are managing 4 or 5 emotions at the same time. This doesn't leave space for them to learn anything. They're in protection mode, because we were, hunter gatherers from the hunter gatherer days. We knew that anything that looked as if it was presenting a threat, we will run away from it. And so that same mentality has been, permeated in our evolution. And we're still behaving like that. And in those days, it was to protect us. Those hunter gatherers had to protect themselves from being eaten. And so they had to know what was food and what was a threat. You know, Now that we're not hunted by these animals, we're still in the hunter-gatherer mode in our minds when it comes to the impact of stress. The perception of a threat, because many times lots of the fears that the children experience are expanded in their mind because of the fear of the perception of their inability to cope with whatever happens to them. I have heard and seen cases of children who stayed home, pretended they were sick, who went to school and didn't go to school, left for school, didn't go to school because they were so afraid. And I think that we have to have compassion and really make our government see how serious the issue is, because we are talking about its effect on children in their adult life. We're talking about its effect on their work, how they socially interact within the context of university, college, education, how they react to relationships. And if we are social beings, we were created as social beings. So it means that this is a problem that must be addressed, and it must be addressed in a systematic way. In that we can't take a silo approach to bullying. We have to get counselors involved, psychologists involved, school counselors involved, and guidance counselors involved. We have to get the principals involved, the teachers. And the biggest challenge for bullying is that the parents are ill-equipped to help the children. And so I would think that one of the methods that we must look at, in terms of policy, is how do we create programs to teach parents how to manage a situation when their loved one is being bullied? Because most of the time, the parent would say what they were taught or what they were told, socially speaking, Ambassador. So I think that we need to move the conversation from just prevention to mitigation. We have to start looking at what are the tools that we can actually put in place in the educational system, whether it be protective gear within the school, whether it is additional social workers in the context of the school, dedicated to moving from classroom to classroom, monitoring, taking notes, reporting. I think that those are some of the steps that we need to take. I come from a very practical place because, according to the National Center for Education Statistics, they said that 1 in 5 students ages 12 to 18 are reported being bullied at school. And that is a serious statistic because the impact of bullying on school culture and social culture and the mental health impact is of great concern to every official that I have had a conversation with. They are concerned about bullying. They're concerned about, drugs in the school. They're concerned about how all of these things impair the judgment of the children and cause them to get involved in behavior that is untoward, and unkind. And if we are looking at creating a less bullying, we need to create a tolerant society. And that brings me to my second point. We have bullying in all forms. And I won't go over some of those because those were mentioned in the last conversation, our last dialogue, But what we want to look at is how does a child see themselves after or during being bullied? This is important because the child's perception of their value or their worth will determine what they accept and what they reject. Unfortunately, some of our parents, we are ill-equipped to help our children, even in terms of building self-esteem and self-image. Sometimes we say things to our children that reflects how we feel about ourselves. And because that is the case, our child believes it and thinks that is the truth. And obviously they will say, well, if my caregiver, my mom, my dad says this about me or says this about themselves, it must be true. And so we have to look at a whole systems approach to addressing this issue of bullying in the school. But I also want to say that confidence plays a very big part, and in helping children stand up for themselves. The issue of bullying most of the time is a incremental growth of bullying. They don't start out bullying the child outright. They start with a comment. They start with a slur. They might start with just simply, picking on the child about the way they look. And let's say that child isn't fortified emotionally and psychologically with social tools from and empowerment from their parents. They go into that environment and they begin to feel stressed. They begin to feel pressure. And then it starts to affect their performance because now everything is seen through the eyes of the bully. For them, their view of themselves is now seen through the value of the bully. What would the bully want from me? Or what would the bully expect from me? So no longer is the parent important, no longer is the teacher important. What's important now is the bully. The bully has replaced any form of authority in the life of the child. So now the child feels as though they now have to live up to these, self-fulfilling prophecies. Whatever the bully says about them, they now have to. And it's worse if the bully has a group. I heard someone mentioned about gang violence, and this is becoming a very serious issue across the world, gangs in schools, because these children now can't go to their parents and have a conversation or the guidance counselor, because most of the time, gang violence in the school, the teachers are afraid of the gangs, and the teachers are afraid to be bullied by the gangs. So the teachers sometimes stay out of and don't stand up for the child. And then what happens is the child begins to see and interpret that the only way I can be protected is if I join a gang. This is something serious to talk about because when a child has lost hope in the protective services, they automatically begin to gravitate towards what they think. Because remember, they're trying to cover themselves. They're in the hunter-gatherer mode. They're in that running away from the perceived threat. And notice I keep saying perceived threat because it starts in the mind first. If we can find a creative way, panel, to fortify our young people with the tools, the social skills, and also the environment, because we have the mental, the psychological, and the physical. The physical is the beating. The physical is all of the physical trauma that is impacted on the child. But before that happens, there's a psychological breaking down of their walls. And anyone who would have studied abuse would tell you that the first thing the abuser would do is to break down those psychological walls. Because if you are strong mentally, chances are you might be able to stand up against that physical pressure that comes from the bully. But it can't be something that is seen as, oh, the child is being bullied and that's a normal part of life. It might be a normal part of life to be picked on, but it's not a normal part of life to accept that that kind of behavior should continue throughout your life. I know of cases where children have been named, defamed, left school, didn't, graduate because of bullies. And I am just probably echoing some of the things that came out in this conversation, because I am speaking both as a coach but also from my heart, because I am a parent. I am a parent. Apart from being an educator, I'm a parent, and I think that we need to make young people understand that it's okay to stand up. And it's okay to have someone to stand up for them. But it's not okay to turn to gangs, and it's not okay to turn to violence. And so we must assess what level of violence is being perpetrated within the context of the school as well as within the home. Because sometimes there is also the social impact of the home. There is also the lack of mom or dad there. Some of the parents might be abusing drugs, or some of the parents are not around, they're neglecting the child. And so the child might even gravitate towards this group in the school that bullies them to feel some form of value, even though it turns out that they're going to be abused. And case in point, when people are abused, sometimes they even turn around and begin to love and accept the abuse as a form of love. And that's something that we really need to look at, as bullying is defined as an unwanted aggressive behavior. It is unwanted. So the first thing that we need to let our children know is that it is there, under no circumstances should you accept bullying in any form. Not to please someone, not to hope that the bullying will go away, because once the bully sees that they're having they come in gradually stronger and stronger until you become a victim. The second point that I would like to raise is the victim mentality. When a young person, a child is perpetrated upon and becomes the mind of the victim takes over, and now they feel as though they're helpless. They can't do anything in the situation except bear it, except go through it, except finish the day. I know of school children years ago, when you see 2:00, 2:30, just before the bell rang to go out, those children were scrambling to get their bags to get out of the school before they met their bullies, because the bullies would come around around 3:30 and wait at the gate. Right? And wait at the gate. Now we have a different system now, because lots of bullies can't enter the school. So what bullies are doing is that they are influencing the children, bullying the children in the schools, making them victims of bullying so that they can turn around and use them as bullies. Thinking back, most people can probably identify a time in their life, Ambassador, when they've been bullied. There isn't a case of an adult that I know who've not been bullied at some point in time in their life. If it didn't happen when they were children, it happened when they were teenagers. If it didn't happen as teenagers, it happened when they went to university or college. And so it seems that this is a social stigma that needs to be addressed and can't be addressed until we as a society begin to put pressure behind the dialogue, begin to put pressure on our politicians, on our policy leaders to begin to look seriously at what are we going to do about the social maladies with that are perpetrated on our children, because bullying happens everywhere. It happens in schools, but it also happens in the workplace as well. It happens in friends groups, online. It happens when you least expect it, and from the least expected person. That's the other thing. We need to also help our children to cope with when their friends become bullies, when their friends want to be accepted by the crowd and then begin to perpetrate bullying on that innocent child so that they can be accepted into the group. Many of these gangs, their rituals are you have to hurt, maim, or harm an innocent person to be accepted by us. And because their value is coming from that individual, obviously that's what they're going to do. I want to talk about my last point would be social bullying. Social bullying is what we call covert bullying. It isn't hard and fast bullying. It's difficult to recognize because it's really under the surface. And that's where psychological bullying comes in. Because social bullying, you are not only ostracized from a group, you are humiliated in a group. You are separated and sanctioned. If we talk about bullying, we must also talk about bullying on a larger platform. Social bullying can also include things like spreading rumors about children. The child's delicate sensibilities are already under attack. And when you add things like lying and spreading rumors, the child doesn't really have the social skills to cope. So we also have people flaring up the nose at children, we call facial expressions, physical gestures, playing nasty jokes or pranks, and then telling the child, oh, it's a joke. Lighten up, we're friends. Why are you taking it so serious? And it starts there. Then it goes to pulling the child's hair, taking the clothes out of the shirt out of their pants or something like that, stealing his shoes and stealing books for school. And then it goes to, give me the money that you were given to have something to eat at school. And so I'm trying to normalize and make this conversation as less clinical as possible, because sometimes when people feel a conversation has to be clinical, what they find themselves doing is, not engaging. We need to realize that these are our children we're talking about. These are people. They have feelings, just like us. And so we need to make sure that bullying is measured within the context of our society, and it should be stamped out because it happens over a period of 2-3 trials. Once the bully has realized that that child is vulnerable, then that bully goes in for the kill and involves other people in a social setting to make that child feel small. And I think that this conversation should be carried to a larger platform in the future. I love what is being said here because we didn't have these social skills or even these programs to help us when we were children. We had to go through the bullying and come out on the other side, and hopefully you come out with all your sensibilities intact. But there are people who are adults that I know who have been bullied and who have not adjusted, who have not become, it has not been normal for them, is affected the way they relate to others, and they're stuck in this quiet, hidden, reclusive life because they're always afraid of the next person becoming a perpetrator, especially if abuse is involved. And so my appeal is to everyone, here on this panel, that we start looking at a whole approach. Let's see how we can involve all care facilitators and health services and help services across the world. Because if we don't start bullying out now, we're going to be looking at a society of bullies, and that's the scary idea. We're going to find ourselves living in a space where we're going to be bullied by normal people because it's going to be socially acceptable. It should never be socially acceptable to harm, hurt, name, abuse, or insult another person. And everyone has rights. And so at this point, I would like to rest my case and turn the floor back over. Thank you so very much.
Thank you very much, my dear brother. Really, I don't like to stop you. I don't like you to finish. All your words are touching our hearts because already you completed us. I think being 4 speakers or being many speakers, it means that we are completing each other's. Our great previous speakers before you touched the issue of school students, and also you talked about academic life, and also you covered the issue socially. So it's very important to talk about all of us are against anyone to humiliate students at any level, because we don't like to hurt our students. We must be honest on them. So it's our responsibility to take care of their emotion and their hearts. We are not allowed to hurt any one of them. So hats off to all our great speakers, and thank you very much. Really, we don't like you to stop. I think if we are talking in this topic, we need many days. I think one day is not enough because all of you have many ideas to be shared. So hats off to all of you, and thanks again for all our respected 4 speakers. I'm lucky today because really I have got a lot and huge amount of knowledge from your side. So all of us are completing each other. We are against anyone to humiliate anyone. We are against bullying by any way, physically, socially, by verbal, anyway. We are disliking these attitudes and these bad behaviors. As my dear sister, Dr. Laura said, we are as plants. I'm looking also to my students as seeds and as plants. We need them to grow in a healthy media. We need them to be responsible people. They are the leaders of tomorrow. How can we allow to break our leaders? We are not allowed to do this. We must afford our responsibility on all details of their life. We must support. We must be mothers or fathers. If they are receiving any things, these things maybe correlated to violence by any way, we need to support. I can remember today that one day during the issue of COVID, one of my students attended my exam. She is not good. She can't answer anything. I saw her, I said to her, please go to rest. She said, my father sent me to continue my exams. He disliked me to leave my exam. I said to her, you must take a rest. Your health is first. So we need to inform all parents and also all educators that health is first. We are not dealing with the stones. We are dealing with human beings. So mental health, physical health are first. Then anything can come. however, I am academic educator. However, I passed through my life by my academic life by excellent as a student, excellent with honor degree. But regarding responsibility, we need to say health first, then education. We need to educate to healthy students, either physically or mentally or psychologically, and so on. When I saw my students trying to answer, however, she can't, she is in COVID, I blamed her father. I said to him, if you will not come to take care, to take a rest, to go to the hospital, to do anything because of her health, I'll keep her in my home because she is as like as my daughter. So you will not be allowed to see her again. He said, but her future. I said, her health is her future. What we will do by high degrees without stability? Nothing. We need to see our plant, healthy plants. They are, as Dr. Laura said, they are our plants. They are our seeds, our fruits of the future. We need to see them in a very healthy status because they are a leader. They are leaders. They will afford the responsibility of tomorrow. So we need to see all students psychologically balanced and also healthy students in all aspects of health. So hats off to all of you. All of us are against violence by any way, by any letter, because some people are highly sensitive. They can't forget anything. For example, I am still remembering all bad things and all good things, but I said to myself, I'll be against any bad behavior. I'll not repeat any bad thing. I'll not be a copy of any bad person. So let's avoid any bad attitudes, and let's try to magnify and to repeat all good things came from others. And I think I need to say it was the soul of my first love and second mother, my dear educator, Prof. Dr. Samia. I am remembering her as a mother. However, she is Prof. Doctor and so on. But all of us will die. We will not die as doctors. We will die and we will meet our deeds. So now I think she is happy by her deeds because she is trying to build students, to build the future. She supported us. So I'm still remembering her. When I'm doing any good things, I'm saying it's her, it's because of her. She did a lot before me. So let's encourage, let's motivate, let's be supportive people. Not all people are living in good situations, and not all families are stable. Some of them containing some social disturbance, like the mother and the father are dissolved, maybe the father dead, the mother, and so on. So maybe you are stepfather of your students, and maybe you are stepmother of your student. So let's appreciate emotional life and emotional intelligence. Let's be emotional intelligent people. Hats off to all of you. Really, I dislike to end the session, and I need to thank our great reviewer, Dr. Petikar, for his presence. I'm feeling that he is busy. His schedule is very crowded, but he is with us because he is a highly appreciated educator. So hats off to you, sir. Salute to you, and let's welcome him again. And the floor is yours. We need to hear from your side. You are our great reviewer. So please, we are need in to go to sorry to go to the review. I'm so sorry because when I'm remembering my dear educator, I'm not good because I have a shock by losing her. 23 years can't make me forget her. So when I'm talking about her, I can't be good because she left good memories in my heart. So we are not in love with losing such good people. So I think all educators need to be as like as her, need to be remembered because we are living. But if we are being remembered, it means that we are living many lives. We are living in letters of our students. We are living in letters of students of our students. So we need to be remembered. Thank you. Petikar sir, we need to hear from your side. Thank you.
Thank you, Iman madam, and today's all respected resource persons, those who have explained here and contributed about the bullying, physical violence in schools. This topic is serious to all the educators because when students arrive in the school, they talk each other, they discuss each other, or they do something different so that it gives a atmosphere of tension. So that's why only the student ability is to adopt the bullying in the schools. So to avoid such a type of crowding, such a type of atmosphere, such type of circumstances in any school, maybe in college, maybe in high school, or maybe in senior university also, there should be some programs or elder teachers, those who are teaching to the students, they should take overview of such students and they should be taught disciplined. And because of the discipline, we try to understand the problem. If there are something misunderstanding and trying to bullying and causing physical violence, then we have to say to them that it's very wrong thing. It may sometimes seize the lives or it may do handicap everything. So we have no right to do such wrong things with others. So with happily, we should learn together. With happily, we should live together. And with happiness, we should complete our education together. So by removing the misunderstandings, by removing the mind towards wrong things, we can create a best healthy atmosphere in the school, and so that this bullying, physical violence in the schools can be minimized, not stopped, but minimized. And because of this media, which is promoting all these things, and students are accepting only wrong things. So we have to do habit to the student to accept good things, to learn good thing from the media and surrounding, and we should behave a best student or good student for the school and colleges. Thank you, madam. Very nice moderation of you, and you controlled all this today's webinar means this section. Meenakshi madam today is absent. So you being a co-host, you did very best responsibility for today, and I enjoyed and learned more things with all from the resources and from you also. Thank you, Iman.
Thank you, sir. I think I did nothing because all IDYM teamwork are doing great things. We have supportive people like you, so we are lucky by the presence of our teamwork. Appreciation to all of you. And finally, I need to say something to conclude. I need to say that one day I visited India. I visited Indore for my first time. I think it's about more than 11 years ago. I met one educator. I am not educator at the time. I'm researcher. I was associate researcher. I didn't finish my PhD. I tolerated all people who are advising me don't travel before finishing your PhD, but I traveled to India. I felt hospitality, and the most important thing that the words of that lady, she said to me, you will be great educator because you are great researcher now. Till this moment, I am trying to motivate myself by her words. Maybe I can't remember her name, but I am remembering her words. So words can't be forgotten. So try to be good memories with all people because they will be affected by your words. I'm still remembering her words. I think she created a change in my life. When I find another chance to be educator again in my faculty, however, I delayed more than 10 years in upgrading, but it doesn't matter. I am participating my job as educator with all my love. So, as I said before, we are followers of messengers. So we must appreciate what we are doing. We are not allowed to hurt anyone. Salute to all educators. I love Indian educators generally because I saw most of them are being remembered. One day inside the conference, all people are standing up. I asked myself why they are standing up. If there is principal or president, or no, I saw old man. He is the boss. He is a great professor. He has a great effect in their life. So educating by love is very important, is highly required. Hats off to all of you. I don't like to finish the day. I don't like to finish the session, but I'm very happy by all of you, by all your efforts, by all your words, because it's very effective. So we are not talking to ourselves, we are talking to educators, we are talking to students, and also we are talking to parents and to our society. We can't change anything without changing ourselves. So we need to change our attitudes. Don't be nervous with your student. Don't punish anyone. One day I'm very
Recording in progress.
One day I am very, very angry by my students
Recording stopped.
Because some of them are lazy and so on. But all people around me are smiling because they know that my culture is zero punishment. So no one can be conveyed that I'll punish them. Till this moment, I didn't punish any one of my students, but they are doing full respect. However, some of them are very closer to my age. I am not older than them by many years, but all of them are in appreciation because of love. So be sensitive with your students if you want to build leaders. And if you want them to appreciate and respect you, respect them. Thanks a lot to all of you. Hats off to all of your words. I'm very happy today. Let's congratulate all speakers by their success. Mrs. Hardiana and Mrs. Laura and Ambassador Prof. Dr. Mehreen, and also Dr. Honorable Dr. Disley, and our great motivative and our great reviewer. I saw you are looking busy, but you are with us. So we are appreciating your presence, Dr. Petty Carson. And bye-bye. I need to say I'm very grateful and thankful to all of you and to IDYM for allowing me to be with you. And behind the camera, Madam Jinas and Miss Donel and Ravi sir, encouraging all to force the platform toward success. We are not allowed to force anything to any direction, but we need to force all things towards the success. Love will force all life towards success. Love and responsibility. I think no lovely person and responsible person will allow him or herself to be a source of pain of any one life. Thanks a lot and see you and bye bye. Thank you very much. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Bye bye.